in Europe. We need to strengthen our own capacity, both in economy and in security, so that Europe has the ability to act in all situations. Finland is a good example of a model of comprehensive security where citizens, companies and the public sector work closely together to ensure preparedness, resilience and security of supply. Your proposal for a preparedness union is indeed an excellent initiative that should be taken forward. Mr. Prime Minister, I fully support your words about Ukraine. European Union must bolster up our support for Ukraine. Concrete decisions and action is needed. We must help Ukraine win the war.
Thank you very much. Ms. Virkkunen, next and finally is Mia Petra Kumpula-Natri. 1 minute.
Dear Chair, first of all, there is no opposition here in the Parliament. We are here for the different groups and for the citizens. I read the EPP promise for the next elections. It says it wants to defend the workers' rights and wants to have fair income. How do you, Petteri Orpo, take that EPP message to Council, and is it this fake? We have people on the streets now, there's big strikes going on, the government is cutting benefits, cutting rights for the political strikes, and at the same time making benefits for our income level, the most rich one, and cutting the poor. And I'm very worried that 17,000 more poor children is in the program. The previous government was in the time of the growing economy, and this government takes more loans than the previous one. So this is my call for the Council what to do. On the defence, on the eastern border, these issues are national, and I welcome very much the strong words of the government. That has to be taken there. And finally, something was missing, rule of law. You didn't take that up. Is it because of the MEPs here? They voted against. Your ministers and speakers and others are saying that this is not important. It is the Hungary who have their national rights. Please be strong there. Finnish voice is needed. The processes started last term. They are vital for the democracy as well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kumpula-Natri, and now, Prime Minister, I give you the floor to respond.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you for your attention and contribution. Thank you for excellent European and domestic debate. A few comments on your remarks. First, Mr. Weber, thank you for your strong support. On NATO, you mentioned it is important that today in Finland we are united. Almost all Finnish members of Finland's parliament support our membership in NATO, and together in Finland we are building up a strong NATO Finland at this moment. And I'm proud of it. Madam Garcia Perez, and for many others also, there is no right-wing, far-right parties in my government. Finnish government is pro-rule of law. It's pro-democracy. It's pro-equal gender rights. It's pro-Ukraine, pro-European Union. And many of you were worried about the reforms we are doing in Finland. But we have to do those reforms because in 15 years our economy has not grown. And we are going to lose our welfare in Finland. That's why we are reforming our economy. We are reforming labour market, social security system, taxation. Because our target is to create 100,000 jobs to the Finnish people so we can take care of all Finnish people and take care of our welfare state, education, healthcare, etc. This is clear. Madam Hayer, thank you for your strong words on our common security. And Arctic It is very important issue. Mr. Lambert, thank you for your very wise words. There is a strong link between growth and climate. It's clear. Green transition will provide opportunities to our businesses. And we do need regulation, but we need better regulation. And I want to also mention that we use €1 billion to development and research more in this period, because we need new innovations because of climate. Some words in Finnish. Viro ja Suomi ovat hyvin läheiset naapurit ja yhteistyömme Itämeren alueen turvallisuudessa, rajaturvallisuudessa, energiassa, monessa kysymyksissä on meille hyvin tärkeää. Madame Frison, vi gör ett fantastiskt samarbete med svenska regeringen. Vi reform våra arbetsmarknader till Swedish model.
We're forming our labour market along the Swedish model lines.
Herra Heinäluoman ehdotus tuki komission puheenjohtaja von der Leyenin aloitteelle puolustuskomissaarista on erinomaisen hyvä ja Suomi tukee sitä.
Defence Commission supported by Mrs. von der Leyen is something we support.
My main message for this chamber are clear and urgent. Firstly, we cannot afford to hesitate. The situation in Russia is not just a momentary crisis, it's a test of our resolve and our foresight. If we do not act decisively against the aggression now, we are efficiently inviting future challenges to our borders and to the very ideals we hold dear. President Putin's ambitions will not be curbed by inaction. He will emboldened by it. Secondly, time is of the essence. Our words must now be matched by tangible action. We need to accelerate our defence production capabilities immediately. All these efforts require time that is slipping through our fingers even as we speak. The time is now. By working together, we can multiply our effectiveness. Naturally, bilateral help is needed, but the EU must also work collectively. The unity displayed by the European Union has been commendable. However, it is now imperative that we embark the next phase of our collective journey. Our security cannot hinge on the outcomes of elections in the United States. And thirdly, and perhaps most critically, this effort requires a substantial financial investment. As politicians, we are acutely aware of the numerous important and valuable demands on our budgets. For the past 3 decades, European nations have enjoyed the luxury of securing their defence at a relatively low cost. Regrettably, that era has come to an end. The stark reality we have faced today is that our safety and the preservation of our democratic values come with a higher price tag. This is not merely about allocating funds for defence. It's about ensuring the robustness of our continent's economic foundation. Fourthly, Europe needs to be stronger on the world stage. The European Union, our way of thinking and our values are essentials in the current geopolitical landscape, as democracy and authoritarians compete our dominance. The EU needs to show its strength globally, especially as China and Russia spare to their own ideas and narratives. We need a stronger European foreign policy, and we need to make it more effective using qualified majority voting in important areas. Dear friends, a strong economy is the bedrock of our security. It enables us to invest in the advanced technologies and capabilities needed need to protect our citizens and uphold our way of life. Moreover, a vibrant economy enhances our global influence, allowing us to shape a world order that reflects our values and our interests. Only when our economic base is healthy can we efficiently protect the climate, improve our security and defend ourselves. This is why we need strategic competitiveness. This means building our long-term competitiveness by focusing on our own strengths, deepening the internal market, boosting innovation and focusing on market-based solutions. This is a critical moment. We must be willing to make the hard choices that safeguard our future. Investing in our defence is not just a matter of national security. It is a commitment to the stability and prosperity of our Union. It is about ensuring that Europe remains a beacon of hope and freedom in an increasingly turbulent world. Let us therefore approach this challenge now just with the seriousness it demands, but with a sense of shared purpose. Our collective future, the legacy we leave for the next generation, depends on the decisions we make today. Let us invest together in the future, in our security and in the enduring strength of our European Union. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Orpo. Thank you to all the colleagues who participated in the debate. We will stop for a few seconds while we bid farewell to the Prime Minister, unless he wants to stay for the voting session, and otherwise we'll go straight to the votes. Okay, let's move straight to the votes, dear colleagues. I have 2 points of order before we start. First is Elisabetta Gualmini. Aspetta, Elisabetta, perché non c'è? Position 5, seat 5.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Grazie cara Presidente, purtroppo questa mattina abbiamo assistito a un esempio inaccettabile di propaganda filorussa e putiniana ad opera dell'onorevole De Graaf proprio durante il dibattito sui bambini ucraini deportati a forza in Russia, 20.000 circa. È fondamentale condannare questo tipo di propaganda completamente falsa. Ci siamo sentiti dire che in realtà è Zelensky che deve andare di fronte alla
we heard that it was Zelensky that should be taken to the International Criminal Court, along with the fact that the Western countries are actually assisting these types of actions and assisting Ukraine in indoctrination in transgender propaganda and female genital mutilation. This is absolutely unacceptable. The European Parliament has always defended Ukraine and the children from Ukraine against the invasion that can be considered a ferocious tyranny, authoritarian at that. We cannot accept pro-Russian propaganda against children, and this we condemn. Thank you.
We will look at the exact wording used. Vice President who was chairing, I think it was Madame Sharanzova, cut off the speaker then, so we will also do the procedure. But thank you for making this point. Next point of order is Ms. Laurence Farang. Allez-y.
Merci, Présidente. Le 7 janvier 2015 avait lieu la tuerie de Charlie Hebdo. 12 personnes massacrées pour un dessin, pour une caricature qui invoquait la religion. Parmi les rescapés, une dessinatrice de presse, Coco, qui vit sous protection policière. Cette dessinatrice a fait paraître lundi dans le journal Libération une caricature qui dénonce l'horreur de la situation de famine à Gaza et évoque une nouvelle fois la religion. Depuis cette parution, Coco est l'objet d'un déchaînement de haine, de propos antisémites sur les réseaux sociaux et d'appels à la violence. Pire encore, ce ciblage est relayé par un parti politique représenté dans cet hémicycle, la France Insoumise. Vous n'aurez pas notre haine, mais vous la méritez. Voilà ce qu'a déclaré une députée française de ce parti. En ce jour où nous votons l'acte sur la liberté des médias, je voudrais que ce Parlement condamne fermement les attaques contre Coco. Je voudrais qu'à travers ce texte qui consacre la liberté des journalistes, nous reconnaissions également celle des dessinateurs et des caricaturistes. Solidarité avec Coco et restons Charlie.
Merci, Madame Farah. We will now come to the votes, and we start with the report by Sabine Verheyen on the European Media Freedom Act. There is a proposal to vote on amendments to the draft legislative act. Procedural motion by roll call vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. We vote on the provisional agreement, amendment 332 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Broadly adopted. Congratulations to the rapporteur. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move next to the report by Brando Benifei and Dragos Tudorake on Artificial Intelligence Act. We vote on the provisional agreement, amendment 808 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. Congratulations on this seminal work. Congratulations. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to report by Laura Ballarin Cereza on amending the directive on alternative dispute resolution for consumer disputes. Single vote by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. Congratulations. First reading of Parliament is closed. Move to the report also by Laura Ballarin Cereza on discontinuation of the European ODR platform. I give the floor to the rapporteur for 2 minutes. 387.
Muchas gracias, presidenta. Estimados colegas, la Europa que protege es la Europa que se preocupa por sus 450 millones de consumidores. Los consumidores de la Unión tienen derecho a acceder a procedimientos para resolver sus reclamaciones con las empresas de forma fácil, rápida y menos costosa que ir a los tribunales, independientemente de si la disputa es nacional o transfronteriza o si la compra se realizó en la tienda de su barrio o por Internet. Necesitamos realizar mayores esfuerzos para invertir y capacitar a las empresas y a los consumidores para el comercio digital, que ha crecido de forma exponencial tras la pandemia de la COVID, implicando muchos riesgos. Con este informe sentamos las bases para una mejor y más popular resolución alternativa de litigios, para que la mediación en las disputas de consumo se adapte por fin a la realidad donde el comercio digital es cada vez mayor, para luchar contra la publicidad engañosa, los patrones oscuros o el geobloqueo injustificado. Por todo eso, estimados colegas, nos sobran los motivos para votar a favor de este informe, para que defender nuestros derechos como consumidores no salga tan caro y para que usar la resolución alternativa de litigios sí valga la pena. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. We now vote. Single vote by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Laurent Vince on asset recovery and confiscation. And I give the floor to the rapporteur for 2 minutes.
Thank you, President. The agreement on the directive on asset recovery and confiscation had a very broad support in the Parliament in all the phases of negotiations. Allow me to highlight some elements of this new tool in fighting organised and cross-border crime. The new confiscation framework of assets deriving from criminal activity targets the core motivation of organised crime, financial gain. Their profits are estimated at €150 billion in the EU. Yet, currently, only about 1% of proceeds from organised crime are confiscated. Why is this so? We cannot confiscate if we cannot find out swiftly what assets criminals possess. It is difficult to confiscate assets, the criminal origin of which is skillfully concealed. And cross-border exchange of information, even within the EU today, is limited and slow. The negotiated text will change this situation on all these fronts. Asset recovery authorities will have almost immediate access to all the relevant national asset databases, and they will be able to freeze criminal assets before they dissipate. Loopholes used by criminals to avoid confiscation will be closed by non-conviction-based confiscation or confiscation of unexplained wealth linked to criminal activities. Asset recovery offices will be mandated to swiftly exchange information with their counterparts in other EU member states, and victims' rights are now also better protected. The Parliament has secured a large number of wins during negotiations, so together with my colleagues, shadow rapporteurs, we encourage you to support this important legislative initiative as a relevant step in the fight against criminal organisations and to increase the security of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vince. We vote on the provisional agreement, Amendment 152 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is broadly adopted. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Anne-Sophie Pelletier on the use of the Internal Market Information System and the Single Digital Gateway for the purposes of certain requirements laid down by the Directive on European Cross-Border Associations. It's a single vote. By roll call, vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is broadly adopted. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Adrian Vasquez-Lazara on the compulsory licensing for crisis management and amending Regulation 816/2006. We have 96 amendments by the committee responsible. Block vote. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 26 in two parts. First part, who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Second part, who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 104 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. So a vote on Amendment 99. Who is in favour? Who is against? Who abstains? Rejected. Amendment 105 by roll call. Vote is open. You want to vote? It was clear. 105 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. 106 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 107 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 108 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 100 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. Amendment 12. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 101 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 102 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 103 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. We vote on the Commission proposal by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted, and thereby the first reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Marion Walsman on safety of toys and repealing Directive 2009/48. I give the floor to the rapporteur for 2 minutes. Ms. Walsman.
Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, mit der Abstimmung zum Bericht zur Spielzeugsicherheit werden wir einen großen Schritt gehen, um die in die Jahre gekommenen bestehenden Regelungen an die Bedürfnisse unserer Zeit anzupassen. Wir müssen die Gelegenheit am Schopfe packen, denn unsere Kinder müssen als die am meisten gefährdete und vulnerable Verbrauchergruppe besser vor unsicherem Spielzeug geschützt werden. Wir werden Risiken, die aus gefährlichen Chemikalien, aus ungenügender Cybersicherheit oder schlicht mangelnder Herstellung herrühren, adressieren. Denn wenn es um die Gesundheit unserer Kinder geht, gibt es keine Toleranz. Grenzwerte für chemische Substanzen, die sich an den aktuellen wissenschaftlichen Erkenntnissen orientieren, ein digitaler Produktpass oder obligatorische sichtbare Warnungen auf Online-Marktplätzen. Diese Maßnahmen werden verhindern, dass gefährliches Spielzeug in Kinderhände gelangt. Und zugleich können wir für gleiche Wettbewerbsbedingungen für unsere europäischen Spielzeughersteller sorgen. Und insbesondere kleine und mittlere Unternehmen, die einen Großteil von diesen ausmachen, durch maßgeschneiderte Hilfen und reduzierte Bürokratie unterstützen. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, lasst uns ein klares Zeichen für den Kinderschutz und den europäischen Wirtschaftsstandort setzen. Ausgestattet mit einem starken Mandat werden wir in den kommenden Verhandlungen eine effektive, kohärente und zeitgemäße Spielzeugsicherheitsverordnung verabschieden können. Herzlichen Dank an alle Schattenberichterstatter, an alle, die mitgeholfen haben. Wir sind das unseren Kindern schuldig. Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walsman. So we vote on 218 amendments by the committee. Block vote. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 7. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. Adopted. Clearly. Amendment 9. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 174. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. Adopted. 175. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 176. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 177. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 183. Who's in check? We check 177. Vote is closed. Adopted. 183. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 187. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 190. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Let's check this. Vote is closed. Adopted. 208. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check again. 208. Please raise your hands. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. 209. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 210. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 211. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 212. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. Adopted. 213. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 214. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 215. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 259. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. 251. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check this as well, please. 251. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. 173 falls. 252. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. Adopted clearly. 242. Who's in favor? Who's against? Who abstains? Can you please do it again? Who's in favor? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. I tried. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. 243. Who's in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check. It's very close. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. Then we vote on 195. Who's in favor? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 240. Okay. All right. Let's check 195. I heard you. 195. Vote is closed. Adopted broadly, very broadly. 244. Who's in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. 197. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Adopted. 245. Who's in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. Now, 246. Who's in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Let's check this as well. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. 206, 253. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check this as well. No, this is clear. Vote is closed. And it is broadly adopted. 254. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Rejected. 257. Let's check 254. We should have them all as recorded votes. Vote is closed. Adopted. 257. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. 255. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Let's check this as well. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. 256. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. 258. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check this as well, please. Vote is closed. And it is adopted broadly. 247. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Check. Same. Vote is closed. Adopted. 248. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Adopted. 249. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Adopted. 250. Who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Adopted. We vote on the Commission proposal by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted broadly. The first reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Anna Zalewska on amending Directive 2008/98 on waste. 109 amendments by the committee. Block vote. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 46. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 47. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 82. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Check. Let's check this. 82. No, it's broad. Vote is closed. Broadly adopted. 117 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. 42. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 118 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 43. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 122. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 54. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 119 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Rejected. 111. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 123. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 120. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 121. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. We vote on Commission proposal by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Adopted. Broadly. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Javier Moreno Sanchez on the single application procedure and common set of rights for third country workers recast. Provisional agreement, Amendment 117 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. Thereby the first reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Sergei Lagodinsky on European Cross-Border Associations. 138 amendment by the committee block vote. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 78. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. We vote on the Commission proposal by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Adopted. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Jean-Christophe Etienne on reporting requirements in the fields of road transport and aviation regulation. Single vote by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. Adopted. Almost unanimously, first reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Jean-Christophe Etienne on reporting requirements in the fields of road transport and aviation decisions. Single vote by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. First reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Henna Virkkunen on minimum requirements on minimum breaks and daily and weekly rest periods in the occasional passenger transport sector. I give the floor to the rapporteur for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank all the rapporteurs, shadows and all the committees who has been working with this very important report. This legislation gives now more flexibility for our tourist buses, and at the same time we are also taking care of our single market and about our safety of transport. So I want to thank everybody, and I think we find a balanced agreement with the Council, and I hope that everybody can support this result.
Thank you very much, Ms. Virkkunen. We vote on the provisional agreement, Amendment 30 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted, and thereby the first reading of Parliament is closed. We move to the report by Deirdre Kloon on establishing the Union Customs Code and the European Union Customs Authority and repealing Regulation 952/2013. I give the floor to Ms. Kloon for 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, President, and I won't take 2 minutes. But with our vote today, members, we can move to establish a single customs authority for the European Union.
One agency responsible for overseeing our customs code, coordinating customs authorities across the EU and providing support to our national customs authorities who supervise all goods entering and leaving the customs union 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with the exponential rise in e-commerce. These declarations are also increasing, so we need to have a coordinated, risk-based approach to our customs controls. And this new authority will identify risks, carry out controls to ensure that our EU rules are enforced and support national authorities in their work. And the proposal will also establish an EU customs data hub, a centralised repository for union customs data, thus allowing business to implement their declarations once to a single window rather than multiple times to a different member states, and so make it easier and more efficient to trade in and out of our European Union. I ask you to support this proposal to make our customs union fit for the digital age, give better protection to our consumers from unsafe and illegal products, support our national authorities in their work and contribute to a more efficient single market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kloon, we have 291 amendments by the committee. Responsible block vote. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. Amendment 293. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 294. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 295. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 296. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. We move to Article 27(1). 1 and 2. Who's in favour? Who's against? Again. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 297. Who's in favour? No, it was clear. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. We move to the original text. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 298. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Rejected. 149. Who's in favour? Who's against? Who abstains? Adopted. 299 by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is rejected. And we vote on the Commission proposal by roll call. Vote is open. Vote is closed. And adopted, thereby the first reading of Parliament is closed. This is the last vote, so reminder to stay in the chamber if you're participating in the next debate. Finally, the report by Johan van Overtveld on amending Regulation 223/2009 on European Statistics Provisional Agreement. Amendment 2 by roll call vote is open. Vote is closed. And it is adopted. First reading of Parliament is closed. Have a good afternoon.
Καλησπέρα σας κυρίες και κύριοι συνάδελφοι. Επανερχόμαστε στη συνεδρίαση. Τα συνοπτικά πρακτικά της χθεσινής συνεδρίασης και τα κείμενα που εγκρίθηκαν κατά τη συνεδρίαση αυτή έχουν διανεμηθεί. Δεν βλέπω να υπάρχουν παρατηρήσεις. Κατά συνέπεια τα συνοπτικά πρακτικά εγκρίνονται. Προχωρούμε τώρα στις συζητήσεις σε συνέχεια της εγκεκριμένης ημερήσιας διάταξης. Το επόμενο σημείο στην ημερήσια διάταξη αφορά τη συζήτηση σχετικά με επίκαιρα θέματα σύμφωνα με το άρθρο 162 του κανονισμού και το θέμα μας αυτή τη φορά είναι ισχυρισμοί περί διαφθοράς και κατάχρησης κονδυλίων της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης στην Ισπανία κατά τη διάρκεια της πανδημίας. Θα ήθελα να υπενθυμίσω ότι για τη συζήτηση αυτή δεν θα γίνουν δεκτές παρεμβάσεις με γαλάζια κάρτα και δεν θα υπάρξει διαδικασία Catch the Eye. Το λόγο έχει η κυρία Μοντσερά ως συντάκτης της σχετικής συζήτησης.
Comisario, en la política española suceden a diario cosas que en el resto de Europa serían absolutamente incomprensibles e inadmisibles. Pero lamentablemente en España la acumulación de escándalos socialistas se ha convertido en algo cotidiano. Sánchez ha indultado gravísimos delitos de corrupción de sus socios condenados y rebajado las penas por malversación. Sus socios, investigados por este Parlamento por turbios vínculos con Putin y por los tribunales españoles por terrorismo, son los primeros europeos a los que la corrupción y todos los demás delitos les van a salir absolutamente gratis. Ya saben, mientras en Europa se pide endurecer las penas por corrupción, investigar conexiones con Rusia y prohibir amnistías a corruptos, en España Sánchez amnistía por terrorismo, por corrupción y por golpe a la democracia. Ese es su triple regalo al prófugo de la justicia que le mantiene en el poder. Esto no es progresismo de ningún tipo. Esto es una vergüenza nacional y europea que perseguirá al Partido Socialista siempre. Y por si esto fuese poco, la Fiscalía Europea investiga el caso PSOE, conocido como caso Coldo. Presuntos delitos de malversación, prevaricación y tráfico de influencias en contratos millonarios usando fondos europeos. Unos contratos que se firman en pandemia en ministerios y gobiernos regionales socialistas. Y miren, la actual tercera autoridad del Estado, entonces presidenta socialista del gobierno balear, tardó 3 años en reclamar a la trama el dinero pagado por el material sanitario. Unas mascarillas, por cierto, que no resultaron ser lo que eran. Hablamos de fondos europeos, señores eurodiputados. Una trama incansable. Porque además de todo ello, semanas antes recibían en el aeropuerto de Madrid las maletas de la vicepresidenta de Maduro, Delcy Rodríguez, sancionada por Europa. Y cómo no, el expresidente socialista español, Zapatero, ayer reunido con ella en plena polémica por el rescate de ir a Europa y por las maletas de Delcy. Blanqueador de la tiranía es marca PSOE. Por cierto, señores socialistas, ¿qué traía Delcy en sus maletas?
So what did Delcy actually have in her suitcases when she arrived at the airport? And there are all sorts of links between the Coldo affair and the Delcy case. There's one common element, it's the socialist government. Obviously now you're trying to spread all this rubbish, all these problems, and we've seen this at the level of the national parliament. We have a president of the government, a prime minister, who should actually be explaining all of this to not only to the Spanish voters but the rest of Europe. And we also saw that the socialist Portuguese Prime Minister Costas had to resign. This is socialist, but you're granting amnesties to all of these people. You talk about drug traffickers, but if you then embrace the vice president of the narco government in Venezuela, and then you say that this whole plot has actually arisen in the heart of the Socialist Party using European funds. And there are all these question marks and doubts when it comes to the political environment and the personal environment of Mr. Sanchez. So do continue with your campaign of synchronized attacks in order to cover up your own scandals. But we saw that Zoe came along to the Moncloa with their saddlebags full of good examples, but they'll soon be leaving with their suitcases full of lies, treason and corruption. Thank you.
Σας ευχαριστώ. Εξ ονόματος του Συμβουλίου τώρα το λόγο έχει η κυρία Λαμπή.
I give the floor to Mrs. Labib.
Monsieur le Président, honorables parlementaires, chers commissaires et membres de la Commission, tout d'abord je remercie le Parlement de nous donner l'opportunité de ce débat et je voudrais rappeler d'ailleurs qu'au-delà du point débattu aujourd'hui, les institutions européennes et les États membres ont une responsabilité commune dans la défense des valeurs et principes fondamentaux érigés dans nos traités, notamment en ce qui concerne la protection de l'État de droit. Il est important de rappeler qu'il incombe dans ce type d'affaires aux autorités répressives de mener les enquêtes en vue d'établir si des infractions pénales ont été commises. Et je note à cet égard que le parquet européen a récemment lancé une enquête concernant des contrats en Espagne relatifs à la fourniture de masques. Le parquet européen est devenu un acteur central dans la protection des intérêts financiers de l'Union et dans ce cadre de la lutte contre la corruption. Sa composition va prochainement s'étendre, puisque la Pologne rejoint la coopération renforcée, ce qui ne peut évidemment que renforcer encore cet organe unique, il faut le rappeler, en son genre. Le parquet européen est un des éléments auxquels le Conseil attache une grande importance. Ce n'est évidemment pas le seul instrument que l'Union européenne peut mobiliser.